When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouthwatering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the final transfer podcast of this part of the season. We'll be back ramping up again coming up to Christmas. But for a couple of months anyway, it's going to go quiet on the transfer front, unless we've got some brilliant rumours. And there's at least one that I want to dig into a little bit with you, Dave, that I saw, and I know you haven't included it today, but I know you'll have an opinion on it. Of course, the Dave I'm speaking to is Dave Davis, our transfer guru here at Anfield Index. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's been a long summer. It feels like the end of the year we're doing this one a little bit, doesn't it? But it's been entertaining, and deadline day wasn't any different at all, to be fair.
Let's just get it out of the way. We need to say it because there were still hours left for a miracle could happen when we did our penultimate show. And neither of us had any faith or belief that anything would happen in those hours. However, to be proven so right is no sense of comfort to me whatsoever. In fact, I just want to revisit this thing that we talked about. People like a metric, and the metric I settled on was 5 out of 10. I think you were possibly even could go lower. And now that I think about it, I think you might be right because of the zero hit rate for what we had gone in hoping for, looking for, talking about, expecting, chasing. So just to recap that before we talk about the complete final odds and ends to do with Liverpool and transfers and loans and all the rest of it, just to get your take at the start, we might as well set the scene. Has it sat any easier with you? Are you getting giddy about Chiesa, the United victory and the solid showing of Gravenberch, not as a 6, however, should make you feel a bit better? How's it sitting with you now?
Being United will always make me feel a little bit better about many things in life, to be honest. So that's always a positive. But for pure transfers, I'm not going to change, to be fair, what I said the last one. It's still, and I'm hoping, as we said again, to be proved desperately wrong and we win every game, etc. But I do just get the feeling it was a bit of a missed opportunity. And I don't like the way people are now changing things. It's almost, I'm never a fan of this phrase, Trev, but I do feel there's a bit of gaslighting going on around the board. It's okay to say you wanted a DM. It's okay to say you wanted the left-sided defender. It's okay to say you maybe wanted the attack or the attacker changed. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We talked about that since the start of the summer. It's also okay to say, yes, contracts maybe could wait till the end of the window. You saw that. But because it's 3 superstars, you wanted those to happen at the same time. That's okay to say. You know, I don't know why we've always been brainwashed into this. It doesn't have to be contracts or signings. Clubs can, funnily enough, do 2 things at once, it seems, across the board, apart from us for some reason. So, yeah, you can't just go sweeping negatives across the board. We sold very well. No two ways about that. Chiesa is good value for me. You can see all the metrics there. That is a good signing. It defines the nature of opportunistic. Supermendy, that's a miss. That one, you just wonder the knock-on effect. That's the real one, isn't it, at the moment? And part of that probably goes into, well, yeah, Gravenberch and the midfield's doing so well, but rotation's going to come in. How's that going to sit? There's a little bit there. Yeah, it's a good start. It's a great start in the league, but for transfers, Trev, yeah, probably somewhere around 4, 5, something like that. But really file the window under missed opportunity for me.
Has to be, and the promised crescendo never came, and it is something that I think people have a right to, as you say, articulate. You don't have to throw all the babies out with all the bath waters. We don't do that here. We're just going to say it like we feel it is, and like I said to you in the last show, the toxic positivity mob can just take a short run off a very, 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 very steep cliff. I can't cope with that in my life. It's because it's based on some sort of idealized version of reality that none of the rest of us are living. We were all there. We saw what Liverpool were chasing. We saw what Liverpool wanted to do so desperately for so long over successive windows. It's important that we do stay balanced. However, you said we sold well. We also arranged lots of exits of different natures for people as well. And as the window did come to a close, maybe the crescendo was all the young lads making noise as they left, because there were quite a few at the end. Would you wrap up the Liverpool loan business for us?
Yeah, they all happened late, didn't they? We all thought they were going to happen, and they pretty much all did. Nat Phillips was released from his cage, and he heads to Derby, doesn't he, for that loan? So it looks like he could well just run out his contract there. Peter Luger ended up at Livingston. So, yeah, good. Maybe a good move, you could say, for him. He'll get game time. And then probably the two young startlers that shine, don't they? Ben Doak, he went to Middlesbrough, and Cade Gordon went to Norwich. So at least, I suppose, there'll be quite a bit of championship interest there. But yeah, all the young pups, as we thought. And what I should mention as well, young Callan Scanlon, the left-back as well, he's seen as quite a hot talent in the academy. He did a season-long loan to Millwall as well. So there's quite a lot to watch in the championship.
Now, you've noted here that something about profit. I wouldn't mind you, I'd like you to expand a little bit on that, because, again, for the joy and delight of those guys who revel in spreadsheets and figures and accounts, maybe this will be a consolation.
It's an interesting one, and it probably an interesting summary for the way the window's gone, Trav. 7 clubs made a profit in the Premier League. Now, some of you probably think, as we know, with PSR, people are going to say necessity, and I get all that type of thing, and Everton with their issues, no doubts at all. But dependent on which report you go by, because quite a few have Arsenal almost just over, just under, around the 0 mark, but the majority seem to be, at a profit. It's just an interesting thing to think that for all the clubs you thought would really have a go, and, with it being close at the top 3 last season all made a profit. We made a profit, City made a profit, Arsenal made a profit as well. So, yeah, I don't think it was quite the swashbuckling spend fest we expected, was it really, this summer?
For sure. We should keep people on the hook a little bit here, because probably by the time the show comes out, there will still possibly be a little bit of legs left in it. Am I right in saying that the Saudi window closes tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few, isn't there? The Saudi, Greek, I was going to say Swedish is worth knowing. As something tells me that Sweden are not going to be that busy. You never know. But Dutch as well. So there's a few still running to the deadline, which always seems strange, doesn't it? You thought, but, UEFA can't control everything, different areas. So, yeah, the Saudi is probably the big one to watch, isn't it? Right up until that deadline.
And just for the record, to clarify for people as well, because their window was open, that means there is potential outgoings from Premier League clubs. But obviously the Premier League clubs can't sign anyone just because the Saudi window is open or the Dutch window is open or whatever. There are a few X-Reds knocking about. And I think someone who everybody is tremendously fond of, for obvious reasons, apart from the fact that he was a wonderful footballer for Liverpool, is Joel Matip. And last we spoke, there was talk of West Ham. Did anything ever accrue from that? Is he still free to join clubs, being sort of out of contract, or what's the situation there for Matip?
Yeah, absolutely. At one stage, he seemed pretty nailed on to head to Italy. It seemed to be Rome, didn't it? Whether it be Roma or Lazio. So they were his options. Never materialised, though. And actually, from doing a bit of digging, he has still at times over this summer been training at the AXA, which is good as well, because it's good we still got those relations and doing a bit of his rehab and things like that. Yeah, there does seem to be a little bit of substance to West Ham. West Ham need a centre-back, don't they? They've lost quite a few players that way as well. And do you know what? You just hope Joel Matip gets a move, because he's right to be fond of him. He was a character. He was a good player. It would be great if he did get a move to a West Ham or someone like that.
You would have to say that could be very mutually beneficial, wouldn't you? I mean, he's still absolutely got it.
Yeah.
And as you say, there's a need there at that club. I could see that really working well.
100%. 100%. If you can get, I'm making up a number now, but say 20 games a season out of Joel Matip and manage him well, for me, he's still in the top 10 centre-halves in the Premier League. You saw his quality. Again, it'll depend, obviously, what his body's like, because he had such a bad injury again last season. But before that injury last campaign, Joel Matip was absolutely flying. And it would just be nice, let's be honest, be heartwarming to see him get back doing well in the Premier League as well.
Now, another man who I think, as a result of his body letting him down, just sort of fell off the fondness level of Joel Matip, Naby Keita. What have you heard about Naby Keita? Because nothing's really gone right for him at all. It didn't go right for him when he joined Liverpool, and it's consistently been going wrong for him since he left Liverpool. What's his current state of play?
Basically, the current state of play is, unfortunately for Naby Keita, Werder Bremen would take a one bar, a chomp, and a snow cone in instalments for him, to be completely honest. Yeah, like, they're sort of digging around this. There is quite a few of the Turkish clubs are looking at him before their deadline at the same time.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
The one sad thing, I suppose you'll say in a way, as I found out from digging today, even the Saudi clubs aren't interested in Naby Keita. I think Werder Bremen, there was even talk that today, if a Turkish club can't negotiate it, Bremen would even look, to terminate the contract, Trev, and come to an agreement just to get him gone, type of thing. So there is a bit of sadness to that. If you think the furore of when we bought him and what we hoped it would be, to now have been in the Bundesliga flop team of the season, just to be clear, Werder Bremen pretty much willing to take anything. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Naby. But Turkish teams apparently interested, but we'll see.
What is the reason for him being so low down the pecking order there that they're willing to consider, like you said, any offer? Is it form, or is it just that the injuries have just continued to plague him? Because I haven't followed it at all, Dave.
This is almost who do you believe? Because there's been injuries, no doubts about that. I mean, there was injuries right at the start of last season for him, all the way through. We know Naby's injury history. Nothing's changed there. The only interesting thing about last season, where you could tell it was doomed, Bremen released a statement questioning his attitude, when like there's certain things, and then Keita, through his agent, responded back to say, no, those claims are nonsense. But it just doesn't bode well, does it? They're quite happily both willing to end their partnership. And, I'm sure we've probably not got any Werder Bremen fans, so not to be disrespectful, but it's not like they're one of the big clubs who are flying at the moment in the Bundesliga either. So it probably tells you everything about just how sad it is with Naby Keita at the moment.
It does. One of my major interests outside of football is looking at societal change and reading about history, and particularly where history crosses over with psychology. And as a result, I've really been interested in reading about and the work of Edward Bernays, who's noted as the father of modern propaganda. Well, man alive, if we don't have an example of some spectacular propaganda, Reds-based propaganda, in the shape of Mr. David Ornstein, wearing his Boston Red Sox cap and talking up a storm across several different places about how wonderful Richard Hughes is and how amazed and impressed everybody has been with him. Now, I'm not raining on anyone's parade, and I'm not one of these people who wants to go and lambaste Richard Hughes, because I don't understand the full extent of what he has to cope with or do behind the scenes. I'm not sure how difficult those contract talks are actually in reality with the agents. I'm not sure how mucked around we were by even our second or third choices when it came to players we were pursuing. We're not going to know those details either. So I'm not interested in just dancing on a lad's grave prematurely. But I do think it seems a bit rich to talk about the wonderful success that it's been. I think, again, you said gaslighting before. That's what it feels like to me. And it's certainly got this sort of brown-nosing aspect to it, Dave. People may not be familiar with all the places that he appeared and his favourite cap. Maybe walk us through it so people understand what's happening there.
Yeah, there's been 3 separate appearances from David Ornstein where he's praised Richard Hughes. There's been the overlap, the Sky Sports programmes. We talked about him there and praised him. There was the CBS show where he does that quite often in America, doesn't he, after Premier League games, etc. And he was discussing Liverpool. And again, he said, I'm hearing good things and praise for Richard Hughes. And then we've had this third one today where, again, Boston Red Sox cap, so 2 out of the 3 is in that cap, isn't he? He's praising Richard Hughes, or saying, importantly, he's hearing good things around Richard Hughes. So naturally, it's obviously been a social media storm, hasn't it, today? People having different opinions, and we always like to be balanced, but we want to shoot straight at the same time, Trev. So it was interesting, so speaking to a few people, and this is where I think that the way I'm getting it at the moment, it depends if you're a football industry person, which, by the way, we're not, or if you're a Liverpool fan, which we are. So if you're in sort of the business side, or you look at football that way, you could say Richard Hughes inherited a very difficult inbox or docket, didn't he, to do, as in sort of new coach, the new staff, everything changing across the board, etc., transfers, contracts for the big 3, all those types of things. You can make that. I could also add as mitigation to it that, like we said, he sold well. I can make that, you want to be balanced across. I can say Chiesa's a good opportunistic signing. So I can look at that. And if I was a football suit, if you want to call it that, in the industry, I could say against a difficult backdrop, that's a good start. However, let's be honest, Trev, we don't give a shit, really, that we've made a profit. Let's not pretend. We want to players. So I can understand if people in the industry are saying that. But we're looking at this from a fan's point of view. you can't pass yet an absolute judgment on the contract situation. We have to be fair and clear on that as well, because you could still do those before, the 6 months, the pre-contract with the European clubs kicked in, and we take that. But obviously, every day goes by, it is understandable that nerves and a little bit of fear will build there. He didn't get a number 6. Yes, we know about Zubimendi. The Zubimendi situation, it's not that we didn't get him. That could always happen. He doesn't escape full responsibility. It's what's said from there, Trev, that's really bugging me. Because even Ornstein said this. He stood strong on no Zubimendi alternative. I don't see it that way at all. I really don't. To be honest, this was a guy who, we tried the PowerPoint, but he loves his mountains, bless him. He loves his families, he's staying. I struggle to believe we don't have or didn't have an alternative to look at. And I know there's even talk, which it sounds quite believable, that we'll look again in January, but it's the framing of that bugs me, because I've seen that one person standing strong, one person being decisive, for me is not future planning, not looking at alternatives, not reacting to the situation a little bit. And I know people are going to then say, well, Ryan Gravenberch has done well. It's a great start. This is not to knock Ryan Gravenberch at all, but we're pinning a lot on him right now, aren't we? Until, January at sort of the earliest that way. So I get the framing a little bit. And this is the other big thing to say. Where do you think David Ornstein's getting his information from? I know we've talked about that previously as well, and we all have our suspicions around that. It's not like they're going to say, are people around the club going to be saying Richard Hughes is sinking, Richard Hughes is dying, Richard Hughes is well out his depth? And that doesn't mean those statements are true, Trev, but think about what's going to be reported. It's all that context, like you say, when you think about it in terms of propaganda. So I'm trying to be balanced with it. But as a Liverpool fan, if I just swallow that whole completely, to me, that means I've drank the Kool-Aid fully.
Yeah, I can't have it. I can't have it. It's got a huge bang of briefing, and again, it's back to that thing, a point I've made on several of these shows, and you have yourself earlier on as well. Don't take us for mugs. That's it. That's all I would say. And yes, of course, there's every reason that there could be loads going on behind the scenes. And the one you mentioned first, getting that managerial team into situ, that's obviously a massive, massive ask and task, and it's been achieved. I was under the impression there's possibly one more to join. I don't know whether that's happening or not, but yes, we get it. And maybe he is doing supremely well behind the scenes. But it should always be in the context that, but of course fans will be a little bit critical that the major targets were missed again. You mentioned those contracts, and as the window was ticking down, we were getting less and less hopeful, even though we were promised some late action. And as this contract situation is ticking down, it's hard to maintain the kind of mind-numbing positivity. The comments of Salah after the match were uniformly across the board by us on Raw, myself, Harry and Dave, and Guy, I think, in the pre-match chat, sort of taken as, wow, it's a super, super bit of work by Mo there. As I said on the day, he's basically out-businessed our business guru by putting it out there publicly, but doing the little boy lost, nobody's spoken to me kind of thing, and also, having that big serious face on him. But look, anyone can see that Mo Salah is happier than he's been for years. I think it was quite masterful in terms of manipulating the media in a way that his pal Rami could learn. It doesn't always have to be snide. It can be just like Mo did it. It's like, give me the fucking contract. I want to stay. Virgil has expressed similar sentiments. Ali has expressed similar sentiments. And obviously the Trent one is the one that has people a little bit nervous. Following the Salah revelation, if you like, and Virgil's words on the topic, and Alisson's words on the topic, and the silence around the Trent camp, Where are you sitting with all these things? I mean, are we looking at a second massive disappointment here in terms of not getting these deals done? Because if you're looking to restore a little bit of feel good, surely that would be one way of making our squad more whole.
I think there's two big points to this. There's debate about how it now plays out, and there's a second point, is how you feel about it personally. I mean, for me, didn't like to hear it, and that's not a dig at Mo Salah. By the way, Mo Salah is two things now. He's the best player in the Premier League, and he's the best agent in the Premier League at the same time. Let's see them, that'll now be a stat. Every other agent, bar Mo Salah, that will become the same boardroom type of things. He's that good at it.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
I don't see how anyone likes... if someone said to me, I'm okay with what I'm hearing, I'd be calling BS on that, Trev, because the things you have to think about are ultimately, what are the players and the players can't say? Salah, quite clearly, you can't debate anything. No one at the club has spoken to me about a contract. Said that clearly, unequivocally, even with Sky trying a little shit stirring in the way they reported it, and even Stud shut them down a little bit on it. That was clear. Virgil van Dijk, the only thing we have him on record so far is the club have not offered me a contract. We have that clearly as well. The Trent camp, like you say, nothing direct, I think it's important to say, but we've discussed this before. We've talked about Trent McManaman, a bumper contracts. There's kind of the game's afoot with the Trent camp, it feels like a little bit. So those are the three things they said publicly. Throw into the mix, and this is so, so important because I do Media Matters, and we have Patch Journos on and various people. It's something I was even discussing today with them. There was a coordinated briefing from the club. Coordinated. You cannot lie about this. That Journos released the articles, quite rightly. That's not a dig at them because it was what they were told. But we can't reinvent history on this. We were told when everything started this summer, Trent's contract was the priority, and that was what Richard Hughes was going to focus on. That was a Patch Journo briefing that they all wrote, and not digging at them. But nothing seems to be moving on with Trent's contract at all, have we? We're not even getting murmurings about an offer. We're in final stages. Nothing like that at all. That doesn't mean disaster, but there's nothing. The two other senior players have been quite unequivocally, no one's spoken to them. Now, people could say it's media games. I'm not going to go as so far to call Virgil and Mo liars by any means. Do you know what I mean? I find them quite genuine. You would take them at that word. That could mean that, obviously, just to be clear, discussions could have been taken place with agents around initial things. That's still possible, but it's not got to, there's a contract on the table, Mo, from Rami, we need to talk. That, it could be that. I'm not debating that for a second. So that scares me a little bit, I have to be honest. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. The second bit is interesting, how you see it, like you said. I took it as a kind of Mo going, I want to stay. I'm having a great time here. Look at how I'm doing. Do you not want me to continue being the legend? Let's talk. That is how I took it, no doubts about it. And it prompted even debate online. And I remember David Lynch said on the pod yesterday, he doesn't think it's a bad thing. Hughes and Edwards won't see it that way because, it's Mo almost revealing his hand, to paraphrase what he said. And I understand that to an extent. And then there was a few tweeting about it, and I'm sure people will know Brand Barry, David Lynch responded, and then Sam Maguire sort of did a contrary point to what David Lynch said. And there's merit in this to say, he was quite clear, I don't see it that way. And I kind of get this point, because now Richard Hughes can only do the bare minimum. The bare minimum now for Richard Hughes is to sign all three of these players back up, isn't it? That's what anything else will now be defined as. Well, two of them he said he hadn't spoken to, so you messed that up. Two of them, I think the senior boys quite clearly want to stay and are looking for the club to put a contract under their nose. They can get that done. Trent, yes, I'm a little bit, we're not really fully sure. That's one of the ones now I'm starting to have a bit of concern about it, a little bit and how that goes. But in his defence, you could say it's the hardest one to do because of his age and where that leads. But if he doesn't do that, Trev, that's £100 million player plus walking out the door. I could always understand why we were told Trent is the priority. I love the other two, don't get me wrong, but I understand in terms of, from the business aspect, Trent is the most valuable player now, isn't he? Because of his age, the profile, I understand that. I understood that was the priority. Concern for all these people, because I see, honestly, like you say, I want to call it toxic positivity for this, but all this, why are you being nervous? Like, it's understandable fans are nervous. The top 3 stars are within a year. The top 3 stars can negotiate a January pre-contract with European clubs. Oh, and by the way, the 4th biggest star probably, we're a little bit unsure on how he sees his future. We've got a backup keeper, to cover him. So there's question marks around that. But just to bring it back to these 3, I am nervous. That doesn't mean I'm not sleeping at night. And for everyone jumps on this nonsense, that doesn't mean you're a bedwetter. That doesn't mean you're not a top red. It's just understandable to think, what is going on with these contracts, really? Because these are 3 stars, arguably the 3 best in their position in world football. Oh, and by the way, if you had any concerns and doubts about how they'd see it, anyone who says those 3 haven't started the season on fire needs their head reading big time as well. And especially, you even think about any mitigation, and I get it, you might have wanted to wait for Mo Salah a little bit because he had the double injury, didn't he, Trev, last season? How has he come back? Holy shit, has he come back? Let's look at what Mo Salah's doing now. So, for me, I'm hoping we're talking about this now, and come the January podcasts, cigars, Ferrero Rochers a lot, the big 3 are signed up and all that. But I would be lying if I said there wasn't a bit of nerves around this now.
Yeah, I think you've laid that out perfectly, and it's important that there is that balance in the way it's laid out, because to talk about being nervous, like you said, is perceived as a betrayal. And given the way the window panned out, you'd have to be sort of slow on the uptake not to have some sort of nerves about this, because we don't know. There could be this long-term plan in place where there's a whole wage restructuring thing, there's a whole change of personnel and playing staff that's planned, the breaking up of the Klopp era. We don't know what the reality of it is. So of course people have a right to be nervous, and they're mainly nervous because they want to keep saying their favourite players, and that is the most understandable thing in the world. Amazingly, man, we've managed to get half an hour of stuff out of the Reds. I didn't see them coming. But here we go back to our regular scheduled programme, and we're going to have a look around the Premier League, because obviously there was a lot of business done. And we start with Chelsea and United, because it's sort of summed up, I think, by the Sancho move. And some of the things I was hearing said about him, like, we have 4 wide players, I think was the quote, and Jadon is a 5th, which obviously, is a what would you say, a judgmental statement about where he ranks in those. And I think some people might find that quite curious. There was also, I don't know if you've mentioned it in here, a very interesting move in the end of the day for Raheem Sterling. And I know you want to sort of rope in United into the chat here as well. So let's start with our perennial transfer favourites, Chelsea, and we'll work wherever you want to work.
I think you think the mess that Chelsea have had in this transfer window, how much material they've given us, obviously, that they still almost got the better of Manchester United says it all, really. I mean, you think how much Jadon Sancho cost United. I mean, according to reports, somewhere around 75 million. It was confirmed. It wasn't actually confirmed until the day after, was it, literally? So Jadon Sancho is now on now. We have to be careful how we phrase this. He's on loan at Chelsea, but there is an obligation, Trev. Now, it's a £20 million obligation plus up to an extra 5 million, so up to 25 million, dependent on how many appearances, etc. he makes. I mean, it probably tells you a little bit of what a mess the United are in. That we tried to tell us the story that, do you remember how they'd all made up Ten Hag and Sancho and it was all good? But they're selling a guy who had a very good last 6 months of the season at Borussia Dortmund last year for an English, so you can have an English tax on it, for £20 million, which, as you know, in Premier League terms is absolute nothing. Just to essentially get a large part of his wages off the books as well. So it just says the state United are in. Now, you think they just think, okay, we've been embarrassed a bit, we'll keep our mouth shut. But no, Dan Ashworth can't help himself. He has to come out, doesn't he, and say, it's really a good deal he alludes to, because we've got two wingers on each side, and he's the fifth choice, so it's a good deal for him, it's a good deal for us. Trev. We've seen some lines in our time. I mean, Raheem Sterling's fifth choice. One of them's a fidget spinner. Do you know what I mean? One of their wingers. He's a Brazilian fidget spinner. My little lad, 6 years old, has allowed them in his primary school class, so not to distract him on the carpet. Do you know what I mean? That fidget spinner's going to play right wing over Jadon Sancho. I mean, yeah, that was just thought. They just don't help themselves. They just give material all the time. Everyone at United, and even Dan Ashworth's now in on it. I just assume he's left his brain on gardening leave when he did the interview as well at the same time. That's all I can judge from that. But, I mean, back to Chelsea. They had the favourite collapsed transfer of the transfer window. I love this, Trev. David Washington, the Brazilian forward they signed, they were going to sell him to Strasbourg for a profit. I think, who owns Strasbourg again? Oh, yeah, it's the Blue Coat Group and Chelsea. So late on, they were planning this move to sell him for like a nicely inflated profit to Strasbourg, at which point the Premier League said, I know we let a lot go, but we'll probably have to get into this a little bit and look at it. So that move, quote unquote, collapsed, basically, to save an investigation. Even at the death, Chelsea are giving us brilliant stuff.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.